Good morning, church. Let's go. Good morning, church. Yeah, yeah. Good morning, church. Yeah, yeah. Good morning, church. Yeah, yeah. Let's go. Sun is up, birds singing. Time to get.
And we're back with Dr. Sheen Mohammed, political scientist. You can pick up from where you left off, Dr. Mohammed.
So the bottom line was she went there and she said to them, she read to them a reality that was affecting Trinidad and Tobago, which is aligned to her Trinidad and Tobago first. And it aligned, for me, I believe it's about time Trinidad and Tobago be given the respect that we deserve. And if we are paying the number one allocation to the budget of the Caricom, we should be given due respect and we should be treated. We don't, you see, we are already, we are an advanced people. And if people don't realize that we pride ourselves in our academics, in our achievements, in our, in our professionalism, we pride ourselves in that, that long time saying we sacrifice in order to succeed and in order to earn and to, that has been us as a nation from the time we moved from slavery and indentureship into industrialization. And industrialization is something that we have prided ourselves in because we became industrialists before everybody else in the region. So with us comes additional knowledge, right? So in addition to, what for me, I like the fact that the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, who represents all of us, went there and she finally put a footprint and said, let me tell you all something. I have issues just as you have issues. But you see, when it comes to crime and foreign policy, I have to deal with those issues as it affects me directly, and it is not the same pathway as you all. And if it means that part of that pathway means that I must align myself with the hegemonic power of the Western Hemisphere and any other hegemonic power to allow for my people, because there was something very specific she said to SEG3. She said peace, she said security, and then she said ultimately, my goal is for prosperity of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And you see that any prime minister who seeks the prosperity of all, even though it's going to come with unpopular and hard decisions, why not, y'all? Why not? That's my take.
So, Dr. Shane, she, as you just touched upon that, right? She publicly thanked President Trump and Secretary Rubio for their U.S. military intervention against Venezuela and the whole drug trafficking trade, right? We know that the Caribbean has been having, or the entire Caricom has been having, a little bit of a rocky relationship with the US. How do you think this sort of public acknowledgement would have sat in the laps of other Caricom leaders? How do you think that they would have taken her public acknowledgement of the Donald Trump administration?
They probably would have been very uncomfortable, and it's probably very hard for some of them to swallow, and it's a very harsh reality because President Trump is taking a hardline position based on people who might be empathizers and sympathizers of Venezuela. Now, you have, I think in this, I said this to both Prime Ministers, Prime Ministers Dr. Rowley and Opposition Leader Kamala Persad-Bissessar in 2024. I said out loud for all uncertainty to hear that with the potential emergence of another President Trump, your policies, domestic policies, national policies, foreign policies, should be aligned to that of the United States in order to gain maximum gain, to allow for maximum gain for Trinidad and Tobago. Why? Because we are going to step into a world where it's going to be what is in it for me. And what people don't realize, the foundations of political science tells us it's all about self-interest. And if we as Trinidadians and Tobagonians would want a prime minister that is going to be a little bit selfish to say my people first, the peace, prosperity, and security of my people first, and anybody else after. Because what people fail to realize, and this is not throwing shade for anybody, let's not forget that Trinidad and Tobago's dollar is what has helped sustain economies up the region, sideways, and all around us. We helped in our time of a lot and plenty, and we could call the different administrations that has helped different administrations up the road. Nobody has that. And we are not saying that we are reproaching. We are acknowledging that we are all at different levels of development, us being advanced. But we have reached the place where we are plateaued. And if we are plateaued and you all can't help us, that's fine. There are other things that we can talk about and discuss and get onto common ground with. But you see, as it pertains to other big matters and issues that you all can't help us with, I fed up by hearing people say, "Well, boy, you're real hot down there because crime is 600 and 500 and 400." I don't want to hear about that. I don't want to hear about are they looking at Trinidad? People looking at Trinidad and they're going, "Hey, boy," and that's all they can say. I want the Prime Minister to be able to be, and any Prime Minister, not just Kamala Persad-Bissessar, any Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, I want them in the direct eyesight of a hegemony and not on the periphery. I want when a hegemony is calling, they pick up the phone and they press Trinidad and Tobago first, and they call the Trinidad and Tobago Prime Minister, because the Trinidad and Tobago Prime Minister then is benefiting the Trinidad and Tobago people. Here's where my advocacy is. I don't want us to move the radar out of Trinidad and out of Tobago. Why? That is $3 million a day in rent. We have to be crazy to say take it away, because that's a revenue earner. If it's doing nothing for nobody, it's just monitoring, it's surveillance, it's helping in some way or the other, and it is putting money in our pocket, we'd be crazy to say no thanks. So uncomfortable, but sometimes necessary.
Gotcha.
Dr. Mohammed, I appreciate the perspective that you're giving here. That's not something that we commonly hearing right now. And I think that might be one of the major problems as the layman trying to understand what's happening in this political platform. We on the ground just looking and we don't know these different intricacies. Could the current governing party do something public that could help express these types of sentiments in a better way or more clearer way? Because so far it seems to be a lot of back and forth or tit for tatting, and we are accustomed to that. But what you're saying there seems to be very beneficial for us all. Is there any way that they could bring this message across that we could finally understand? Oh, okay, this is why. Oh, okay, I understand.
Gary, I have thought about this 100 times, and I did say out loud that I think there needs to be better communication. But I think even with the best of communication, and I would say I could speak for myself, because I speak from a place where, and even when I'm teaching my MBA students, having your knowledge, knowing what you know based on your expertise, your studies, I will defer to an engineer because I don't know engineering. I will defer to a medical doctor because I don't know medicine, right? Here's the funny thing. We are in a place where you're rightfully saying tit for tat, but it's looking for cheap wins. And we have to understand what is the geopolitics that is happening around us. We are in a world where it is what is in it for me. And if we don't start thinking with a mindset about of what is in it for me, and go to the negotiating table asking, you want a space, so okay, I have the space available, but here what? I have needs in this field. Can you provide it? That is the best way to be able to, because while you can't go with your hand empty and begging, and then when they offer, well, I need a radar, but you have a space in the radar, you don't have a prime minister, I'll say, yeah, you can get a space, but here what's going on? I have drugs to deal with, I have guns to deal with, I have, I need foreign direct investment. Can you help with these things? Because putting that radar is a big risk to my country and to the island of Tobago. If you recognize that, then, we can have a conversation. No matter how much I say out loud, and that my teaching style has always been to get rid of the big words and go down to simplicity and bring it in a practical perspective. No matter how much I try to say it, or the best of the politicians or ministers try to articulate it, there's always going to be a grouping of people that are going to say no. So, for example, look at what's happening geopolitically. Suddenly, free Iran, stand with Iran. But what about Iran, who is close to the world? Iran, who is etched in a law of Islamic law that is not actually in the written texts of the Islamic world. That is a law created by men who wanted to contain a people who, when they stood up to fight for their freedom, they killed 30,000. But then you want to talk about Zionism in Israel. But nobody talks about the fact that the Palestinian people has, for years, the Israelites have had to negotiate with the Palestinian people for land that is theirs, right? So I take, I'm looking at you all are a different audience and you all understand this, and I don't often say it, but I guess I could say it here because I'm seeing the bishop is online here, so I could say this. Not many people is going to do the history and going to do the research to understand that when it comes to Israel and Palestine, go way back to Father Abraham. Go way back to Father Abraham. And when you go way back to Father Abraham and you understand the sons and understanding what was legitimate and illegitimate and how he had to make a decision that was very difficult to be able to provide for both sons, right? In order to also fulfill the laws according to the Lord. Here we are 3, 4, 5,000 years after, picking up a war that we knew would have been inevitable. I don't think I need to tell you all more about that part. But the thing about it is, nobody's doing this, and even the best of professors who have titles behind their names are going against the realities of the world. So, for me, Prime Minister standing with Israel, Prime Minister standing, that radar, there's a radar. When she was Prime Minister between 10 and 15, there were 2 radars that was gifted by the government of Israel to be able to help with our surveillance. And during the last administration, I hate to bring them back up, but during the last administration, there was very low maintenance on it. And those are high tech. You can ask Gary Griffith about it. He's the expert there, right? But it was the Prime Minister, Prasad Bisasa, who got those radars. So if my Prime Minister and our Prime Minister, who represents red, white, and black, is standing in the defense of the people of Trinidad and Tobago for peace, security, and prosperity from a sociological level all the way to an economic level. And to get that done, she has to know how to be able to work with the President of the United States, who is one of the most, who will be in history, go down as one of the most difficult and ideological presidents, whether that ideology is rooted in depth or whether it is rooted in just surface politics. The bottom line is she will go down in history as one of those people who was able to get the attention, because she's right now the only small island developing state leader that has gotten the attention of the American president and a seat at his table. And if you are sitting at his table, that means that we've done something right. And I think that's the best positioning for Trinidad and Tobago, who's looking for prosperity, economic growth, development, improvement of human resource capital, infrastructural development, sociological development, you name it. Anything that is centered around the growth and development of our people, I think it's a step in the right direction, given the realities that we're facing.
So, Dr. Mohammed, thank you so much for your contribution. And I hear the passion in terms of what was spoken on that international regional stage. But opposition leader Penelope Beckles, she had something different to say. She called the Prime Minister's speech revolting and bizarre, reckless, inflammatory, and it was, by her standards, the worst speech ever delivered by a Caricom government, or by a government at a Caricom meeting. So what is your take on opposition leaders, Penelope Beckles, comment on our prime ministers?
Within 40 seconds.
Designed to achieve, very right, designed to achieve a specific goal, which is to ignite the disgust, the despair, everything that is negative, ignite it and blow it out of proportion, because we must get more angry, because this is about scoring cheap political wins in a world that is accustomed to cheap political wins, but it's not sticking, because as fast as she was saying all of what she said, the next morning, the Prime Minister got up and she was standing next to Marco Rubio. She had an interview where she said, I have several meetings to do before I leave tonight with several Caricom members who have asked for one-on-one meetings. That is a subtle message of Kamala Prasad Bisasa saying, I am really and truly top dog. They are asking to see me. It means, therefore, that they are probably whispering in my ear, go ask Trump to do X, Y, and Z for me, because I clearly didn't take a hint. So it's just to ignite everything that's negative in order to score a win, because that's what the game we're playing with as well. It's not just trying to, no opposition leader is going to stand and who is trying to reorganize themselves. And as I say, start the campaign for prime ministership against a prime minister who has finished her campaign. That you see where the different levels are. So obviously, anything that is going to cause her some wins, she's going to say. But those wins have been proving to backfire, because the next day after the speech, she stole the headlines again because she had all these achievements. So you're left. So she had the platform, the mic, and the stage. She said what she had to say. She walked off, and then the next morning, everybody said, I need to see you. I think that's the thing we want to take away from us, from it all.
Awesome.
All right, Dr. Mohammed, we do appreciate having you. This information was pertinent, it was necessary, and I'm glad that we were able to have it on the platform. Thank you for coming.
Listen, don't be strangers. I look forward that we can have a longer dialogue again.
Yeah,
definitely. Thank you so much.
All right, we're going to take a quick break.
Have a great one.
We'll be right back.
To get your blessings in, no time for frowns. Turn that thing upside down. Good morning, church, the day beginning. Forget